Good morning from southern, cold, wintry Maine. I'm just outside. I just put my ponies away. Hey, little fella. This is Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi, nice little fella. He's my little Shetland. And of course, I've got Alistair in the back. Today, what I want to talk about is difficulties with friendships. And one of the issues that I face as an adult with autism is I tell people I'm autistic. When I have not everyone, but you know what I'm saying. If I'm going to have interactions of any length of time, or particularly with friends or whatever, and usually I'm not believed that I have autism. They're like, oh, you must have overcome it. Just a titch of it, you're fine. Well, the other day, a couple weeks ago, I needed to buy a truck. And I was looking specifically for a 2006 Toyota Tacoma, and I went to dealerships, and dealerships like, yeah, no, we don't sell those older vehicles. You're going to have to go to a secondary dealership. The mom and pop used car dealer. And of course, we've all heard stories. What is interesting, I do have a small core of friends. I have more acquaintances, people that know me and know that I'm autistic. And I mentioned that I'm going to be looking for, a truck. No one stepped up to say, oh, wait a minute, Deb, maybe you should keep this in mind or that in mind. They just assume because I look intelligent that I am intelligent, no problem. Well, I saw a truck online, went down to look at it. The guy was really nice. The lady was nice. I just assumed they weren't lying. And they said it was inspection ready, blah, 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 had been repainted. So I bought the truck. And in the state of Maine, you can't register the truck unless you have the title. You can't inspect the truck unless it's registered. You can't, you need all of these things. So it looked good, so I sent the title in to be, when I registered the truck, meaning I could no longer now return the vehicle because the title is gone. Instant transitions and that within the return policy would have been over. Well, it failed inspection. And then I find out that there's a lot of things wrong. The truck was in a very major accident, not the little fender bender I assumed, I was told it was. Damaged the frame, it damaged a lot of things. There's a lot of damage. The truck overall is sound, but it's going to require a lot of money and time to bring it up to where I feel safe driving it. So that has preoccupied my time, and I've kind of to the exclusion. When you're autistic, if you're an adult, when you're faced with a problem, you need to focus on the problem. Everything else doesn't matter. So interpersonal relationships at this point was not my priority. My priority is trying to line up parts, trying to line up, mechanics, trying to line up appointments, blah, blah, blah. And people, friends, acquaintances don't understand. They're like, did I do something wrong? Are you avoiding me? And even though 100 times I say no, I'm having difficulties, right now. They're like, well, you're obsessing over that vehicle. Well, yes, I am. And that's my nature. I'm going to obsess until the problem's fixed. That's what we do, isn't it? When we're faced with a problem, our whole focus on we need to fix the problem. I mean, I can't balance everything else in between. And the worst part of it is people that know me, my outer circle, I don't have that many friends. They're like, oh, I could have told you not to go to a used car dealership. I could have told you this. Well, why didn't somebody step up and say something when I mentioned it in the beginning that I'm going to a used car dealership? Why didn't somebody offer to say, hey, Deb, listen, let me go with you, or let me look at this? No one offered. They just assumed I would know what I'm doing, knowing that autistic individuals have a hard time discerning dishonesty. And then when I screw up, everyone's blaming me like, oh, you should have known better. That is actually very unkind. And for us, it really kind of destroys our self-esteem. Because as adults, we don't have services. No services are given to us. We're navigating the world and we're telling people that we have difficulties because we're autistic, but because at that moment we look okay, we're not seen as autistic. No one believes that we're autistic. And it really hurts our interpersonal relationships, particularly with friends and acquaintances. Because no matter how many times you say I'm autistic, they either like, oh, I don't want to hear that again, it's an excuse. Or when something happens, they don't even take it in consideration that it was, I hate to use the word disability, but it's your disability, the inability to discern dishonesty, taking people at their word, that they're like, well, you should have done this, you should have done that better. There's a lot of criticism, and it really hurts our self-esteem. And, I've got a master's in counseling. I did crisis counseling. And I want you to all to understand that self-esteem is in short supply for people with autism that were diagnosed as adults, because all our lives we were different, we were made fun of, we were bullied, etc. And this doesn't help any that when we're taken advantage of. I mean, we were taken advantage of. I trusted this individual. I trusted this used car dealership to sell me the vehicle that he was advertising. And it doesn't work out that way. It's just, it really eats at your self-esteem because you say, why am I so stupid? I should have known better, et cetera, et cetera. Don't think like that. You know, it is our disability. And yes, I was taken, and I'm sure many of you were taken too by different purchases you may have made that didn't work out well. But fear not, you know, it's not all in vain, because I do believe that for every act of kindness, and when I say kindness, that means trusting people at their word, we're making the world a better place, even if we're not seen as that or we're taken advantage of. You know, I do believe in universal justice at one point, you know, maybe not in this life, but in the next. And I believe in karma, what goes around comes around. And I think if we just understand that we are autistic, and it is difficult for us to discern dishonesty, and if the people around us don't want to see that, it's not you, it's them. You know, you've done everything you possibly can. You've said you're autistic. You've tried to control yourself, your autistic mannerism when you're around them. And when something happens and they don't believe it, it's nothing you've done. It's on them. So don't let your self-esteem be eroded away. And we'll talk a lot more about this, you know, in the coming weeks. I just want you to know that you're not alone, that there are other autistic adults like myself who were diagnosed later in life, who don't have any of the social services, who don't have family, who don't have a big friends group, that are trying to navigate how to stay positive when the world seems to be against us. So it's not us. Sometimes it's them. And it's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay if you buy a crappy car or a truck. It's okay if you do something that other people go, oh, and roll their eyes, because you do you. You know, the universe says that we deserve to exist here just as everyone else. So don't take it that bad. And we'll talk more about it in the future. Thanks for watching.